John's brother, Jim, from Byron Center, Michigan. I moved away from Corinth when John was 13, so contacts with him were very infrequent. We never spent much time together, but as I reflected on John's life, I realized that I know a lot more about him than I thought. Less than 3 weeks before John passed away, Judy and I were in Corinth and had the privilege of spending a full day with John and Lori. It was a happy occasion for all of us, a day I'll always cherish. That day, it really struck home what an intricate, complex, and giving man John was. As the day progressed, it became apparent what made John tick. His love of Jesus, his love for Lori, and his love for his family. Okay, you're going to have to preach that. John's frequent mention of his love of God in the year before his death thrilled us, brothers and sisters. During his last year, when he faced his own mortality head-on, John recognized how soon he would be in the presence of his Heavenly Father. And it was obvious that he had made his peace and was looking forward to his eternal homecoming. John and Lori had a passion for teaching and working with kids. On that inspirational day we spent with he and Lori, conversation frequently returned to his children's ministry and the crafts that were such an important part of his life. Crafts don't just happen. Many loving hours were spent making each piece of each craft. John's last piece was an 8-piece wooden frog. He admired those frogs like they were his masterpieces. And as a matter of fact, they were his masterpieces. Come to think of it, they were. All 90 of them. They were 8 pieces each. 90 of them. It took a lot of work. And he loved it. I've shared only one example of John's generosity. There are many. But not only was his a generosity of time, it was a generosity of money. Once in this very church, you were part of a fundraising campaign for a building maintenance project. You were still a stretch from meeting the goal. John told the fundraisers, "Don't worry about covering the gap to the goal. I'll make up the difference." He told me the amount, and it was, pretty impressive. That speaks to 3 noble traits: his generosity, his faith that God would help him to achieve his commitment, and his love for his community of faith, the local church. On that special occasion we spent together, his #1 priority by far, even if he didn't get anything else accomplished, was to give us a tour of this church and, if I could find my place, and introduce us to this pastor. That was his #1 priority. The rest of the day was secondary. One day within the last 4 years, I received a lengthy email from John. That was most unusual. He had never written more than 1 or 2 sentences. Judy and I read it together and just looked at each other. We asked, "John wrote that?" I don't remember the contents, but I remember this. It was the most eloquent email that I had read in a long, long time. I remember saying to Judy, "Wow, I wish I could write that wow." Unbelievable. I've come to realize over the years just how intelligent John was. He lacked self-confidence, and that masked a lot of what he was capable of. John was a mechanical genius. He took wristwatches apart and put them back together just for fun. He made a wooden clock, and it kept accurate time. Rubik's Cubes and three-dimensional puzzles, they weren't even a challenge. He was brilliant. He was brilliant. Okay. We've talked about the Mets. John, you stole my thunder.
Sorry.
I ain't even gonna mention it. Oh, except for one thing. Except for one thing. That day that you met Howard Johnson, he talked about that every time we met. And you would have thought he met the Pope, you know? Okay. Oh, I'll say one other thing about John and the Mets. He was far more impressed with his oncologist's passion for the Mets than he was for the oncologist's ability to save his life. And that's no kidding. He really was. Oh, the other thing, John, you knew he was a true Mets fan because he watched the West Coast games that didn't end till 1:30.
Yes, true.
John loved pottery of any kind. His creations were classics of clever and unusual designs. He had one of the best equipped workshops in Corinth. Well, that's just a small peek into what my brother was all about. Hey, John, keep the lights on up there. I'll be visiting you again very soon. And I'll be staying quite a while the next time we get together. We will bow in awe before the face of God forever. Hey, John, it's an honor to be your brother.